It was supposed to be my 32nd birthday party. Instead, my family threw a graduation celebration for my sister. Then the police showed up because of what I did. When I found out the real reason they hijacked my birthday, I realized my family had been using me my entire life. The morning started normal enough. I woke up in my cramped studio apartment in Millbrook Heights, the kind of place where you can touch two opposite walls if you stretch your arms wide enough. The sun was streaming through the single window that faced the parking lot, casting geometric shadows across the hardwood floor I'd spent 3 weekends refinishing myself. 32 years old and living like a college student again. But at least the floors were mine. I'd been back in Millbrook for 8 months now. 8 months since the divorce papers were signed. 8 months since I'd packed everything I owned into a U-Haul and driven away from the life I thought I was building with Marcus in Seattle. 8 months since I'd moved back to the small Connecticut town I'd spent my 20s trying to escape. But today was supposed to be different. Today was supposed to be about moving forward, not looking back. Today was my birthday, and for the first time since everything fell apart, I was actually looking forward to something. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my mother, Esperanza Valdez. Mija, everything is set for tonight. Just come as you are. Family only like you wanted. Can't wait to celebrate our beautiful daughter. 6:30 sharp. Love you. I smiled despite myself. After months of my mother trying to set me up with every eligible bachelor between Hartford and New Haven, she was finally respecting my boundaries. No surprise parties, no blind dates masquerading as casual dinner guests, no attempts to get me back out there. Just family, just dinner, just 20 or so people who knew me before I became someone's ex-wife. I'd been very specific about this. When Mom called 3 weeks ago asking what I wanted for my birthday, I'd been clear. Something small, something quiet, something that doesn't feel like you're trying to fix my life. She'd laughed that particular laugh she did when she thought I was being dramatic. Catalina, nobody's trying to fix anything. We just want to celebrate you. Catalina, my full name. She only used it when she was either very proud or very annoyed, and the tone suggested this was the former. I had believed her. That was my first mistake. The plan, as I understood it, was simple. Dinner at my parents' house on Elm Street, the same colonial where I'd grown up, where my childhood bedroom still had glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and a bookshelf full of young adult novels I'd never had the heart to pack away. My parents, my sister Valentina, my brother Diego, maybe a few aunts and uncles, some family friends. Casual, low-key. The kind of gathering where you could show up in jeans and nobody would comment. After the year I'd had, that sounded perfect. The divorce had been brutal, not because Marcus and I hated each other, but because we'd simply grown into different people who wanted different things. He wanted to climb corporate ladders in tech. I wanted to write novels and maybe teach high school English. He wanted a house in the suburbs with a 2-car garage and a golden retriever. I wanted to travel, to see the world before settling down. Neither of us was wrong, but we weren't right for each other either. The hardest part wasn't the separation itself. It was coming home and admitting to everyone that I'd failed at the thing I was supposed to be good at, making relationships work. I'd always been the peacemaker in the family, the one who smoothed over arguments and kept everyone talking to each other. If I couldn't even keep my own marriage together, what did that say about me? My job situation hadn't helped. I'd been working as a content writer for a marketing firm in Seattle, the kind of soulless corporate work that pays well, but slowly drains you of the will to live. When the company downsized, I was among the first to go. They called it restructuring, but what they meant was, we can get someone younger to do your job for half the price. So there I was, 32, divorced, unemployed, and living in a studio apartment in my hometown. The American dream in reverse. But today was supposed to be the start of something new. I'd been freelancing for a few months, picking up writing projects here and there. It wasn't steady, and it definitely wasn't lucrative. But it was mine. And I'd been working on a novel, something I'd talked about doing for years but never had the courage to start. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. I spent the afternoon preparing for the evening. I chose my outfit carefully, dark jeans, a forest green sweater that brought out my eyes, and the silver necklace my grandmother had given me when I turned 18. I wanted to look put together without looking like I was trying too hard. In the Valdez family, appearances mattered. But trying too hard was almost as bad as not trying at all. I did my makeup carefully, the way Valentina had taught me when I was 15, and she was 18 and already the kind of beauty that made people turn their heads on the street. Foundation, concealer, mascara, a hint of lipstick. Not too much, not too little. The goal was to look like myself, just slightly enhanced. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked okay. Not stunning, not terrible, just okay. Which was fine. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was trying to celebrate making it through another year, another series of challenges, another round of starting over.
The drive to my parents' house took 15 minutes through the familiar streets of Millbrook, past the high school where I'd spent 4 years writing for the school newspaper and dreaming of bigger things, past the coffee shop where I'd had my first job learning to make lattes and deal with difficult customers, past the library where I'd spent countless hours as a kid getting lost in other people's stories because my own seemed too ordinary to be worth telling. It was October in Connecticut, and the trees were putting on their annual show. Brilliant reds and oranges and yellows lined the streets like nature's own celebration. The air had that crisp quality that made you want to wear sweaters and drink apple cider and believe that change was possible. I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly 6:30, right on time, like always. Punctuality was one of those Valdez family values that had been drilled into me from birth. Respect other people's time, Dad always said, and they'll respect yours. But something was immediately wrong. The driveway was packed with cars I didn't recognize. Not just a few extra vehicles, but a full parking lot's worth. Cars lined both sides of Elm Street as far as I could see. A red BMW that definitely didn't belong to any family member I knew, a black Tesla with Massachusetts plates, a white Jeep with some kind of graduate school sticker on the back window. Music was thumping from inside the house, loud enough that I could hear it with my windows closed. Not the soft jazz or classic rock my parents usually played during family dinners, but that specific kind of upbeat celebration music that said, "Achievement unlocked." The bass line was making the windows vibrate. And then I saw it. The banner stretched across the front porch, impossible to miss, written in bold purple letters with glittery gold accents. "Congratulations, Valentina, MBA class of 2024. We're so proud." My sister's name, not mine, on what was supposed to be my birthday. I sat in my car for a full minute, trying to process what I was seeing. The banner fluttered in the evening breeze, taunting me with its cheerful message. "Congratulations, Valentina, MBA class of 2024. We're so proud." My first thought was that maybe this was some kind of mistake. Maybe they'd hung the wrong banner. Maybe this was supposed to be a surprise for Valentina later in the week, and tonight was still my birthday party. But the cars, the music, the sheer scale of what was clearly happening inside the house, none of that suggested a mistake. This was intentional. This was planned. My phone buzzed. A text from Valentina. "Kat, get in here. Everyone's waiting for you." Everyone's waiting for you. Not everyone's waiting to celebrate you, or we're excited for your party. Just everyone's waiting for you. Like I was the guest, not the guest of honor. I took a deep breath and got out of the car. The October air hit my face, carrying with it the sound of laughter and conversation from inside the house. Through the front windows, I could see people I didn't recognize, all dressed up, all holding drinks, all clearly having a wonderful time. The front door was decorated with streamers in purple and gold, the colors of Valentina's business school. Not the soft pastels I would have chosen for a birthday party, but the bold, ambitious colors that said success and achievement and look what I accomplished. The front door was propped open and I could see into the living room. The furniture had been rearranged to accommodate more people, and the dining room table was covered with an elaborate spread of food. Not the casual family dinner I'd been expecting, but the kind of formal reception you'd throw for a major life milestone.
I stood there for another moment, trying to find an explanation that made sense. Maybe this was some kind of surprise double celebration. Maybe they decided to combine my birthday with Valentina's graduation. And the banner was just more prominent because her achievement was more recent. But even as I thought it, I knew it wasn't true. The scale, the decoration, the guest list, everything was geared toward Valentina. I wasn't the co-star of this celebration. I was barely even a supporting character. Catalina! My mother's voice carried over the noise as she spotted me in the doorway. She was wearing her good dress, the navy blue one she saved for special occasions, and she was beaming with the kind of pride I hadn't seen on her face in months. She rushed over and pulled me into a hug that smelled like her signature perfume and the lavender fabric softener she used on everything. Mija, perfect timing. Come meet everyone. Everyone? I managed to ask. Valentina's classmates, some of her professors, people from her internship, everyone wanted to celebrate with her. Mum's eyes were bright with excitement. Isn't this wonderful? Wonderful. Yes, that was exactly the word I would have chosen. She took my arm and started pulling me into the crowd, introducing me to people whose names I immediately forgot. This is my other daughter, Catalina. She's a writer. The way she said it made it sound like a hobby rather than a profession, something quaint and impractical that I did in my spare time. The house was packed with people in their 20s and early 30s, all dressed like they were attending a professional networking event. The men wore button-down shirts and khakis. The women wore blazers and statement jewelry. Everyone looked successful and ambitious and like they belonged at a business school graduation celebration. I was wearing jeans and a sweater. Kat! Valentina appeared at my side, looking absolutely radiant in a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than my rent. Her dark hair was professionally styled, and she was wearing makeup that looked like it had been done by someone who actually knew what they were doing. She pulled me into a hug that lasted just long enough to be appropriate, but not long enough to be genuine. I'm so glad you're here. This is amazing, isn't it? Amazing, I echoed, because what else could I say? I can't believe Mom and Dad put all this together. I mean, I knew they were proud, but this? She gestured around the room with a glass of champagne I hadn't seen her pick up. This is incredible. I looked around the room again, taking in all the details I'd missed at first glance. The professionally printed program on the side table listing Valentina's academic achievements, the photo display showing her progress through business school, the cake in the dining room with "Congratulations MBA" written in elegant script frosting. No mention of my birthday anywhere. Valentina, I said carefully, wasn't today supposed to be... Oh, she looked genuinely startled. Oh my God, Kat, I'm so sorry. Is your birthday this week? I completely forgot with all the graduation stuff. This week, my birthday, which we'd been planning to celebrate for 3 weeks, was apparently just this week in her mind. Today, my birthday is today. Her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, embarrassment, something that might have been guilt. But then she brightened, like she'd found the perfect solution. Well, then this is perfect. We're celebrating both of us, a double celebration. She raised her champagne glass like she was making a toast. How fun is that? Fun. Yes, sharing my birthday celebration with someone else's graduate school party was exactly the kind of fun I'd been hoping for. Before I could respond, Dad appeared with his arm around a man I didn't recognize. Catalina! Come meet Professor Williams from the business school. He's been telling us all about Valentina's thesis project. And just like that, I was pulled into another conversation about Valentina's achievements, her bright future, her promising career prospects. I smiled and nodded and made appropriate comments while my birthday party continued around me, transformed into something that had nothing to do with me at all. The worst part wasn't the disappointment, though that was certainly there. The worst part was the slow, creeping realization that this wasn't an accident or a miscommunication. This was a choice. My family had chosen to celebrate Valentina's graduation on my birthday, and they'd chosen to make it the kind of big, elaborate celebration they'd never once thrown for me. I excused myself from the conversation with Professor Williams and made my way to the kitchen, hoping for a moment to collect myself. But even there, I found evidence of how much thought and effort had gone into this party. Catered food from Antonelli's, the expensive Italian place downtown, a bartender in the corner mixing cocktails, flowers arranged in professional-looking centerpieces. This wasn't a last-minute decision. This was planned. This took time and money and coordination. And it was happening on my birthday. There you are. Mom found me standing by the kitchen island, probably looking as lost as I felt. Are you having a good time? Isn't this wonderful for Valentina? Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, today is my birthday. She blinked at me like I said something in a foreign language. Of course it is, mija, October 15th. I remember. Then why? I gestured helplessly toward the living room where the party was in full swing. Oh, honey. She reached out and touched my arm, and her expression softened into something that was probably supposed to be understanding. We wanted to celebrate you too, of course we did. But Valentina just graduated, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring everyone together. 2 celebrations for the price of one. 2 celebrations for the price of one, like we were a bulk discount at the grocery store. Besides, you said you wanted something small and quiet. This is much more exciting. Look how many people came out to support our family. Support our family. Or more specifically, support Valentina. I looked around the kitchen one more time, taking in all the details, the expensive food, the professional bartender, the flowers that probably cost more than I'd spent on groceries in a month. Then I looked at my mother, who was watching me with that particular expression that said she genuinely didn't understand why I wasn't more excited about all this. And for the first time, in 8 months of disappointments and setbacks and starting over, I felt something besides sadness or resignation or quiet determination. I felt angry. Not the quick flash of irritation that comes and goes, but the slow burning kind that starts in your chest and spreads outward until it reaches your fingertips. The kind that makes you realize you've been swallowing things you shouldn't have been swallowing, accepting things you shouldn't have been accepting for far longer than you should have then. My phone buzzed again. Another text. This time from Diego, my younger brother, who was supposed to be here supporting me on my birthday.
Sorry, Kat, can't make it tonight. Got called into work. Hope the party is fun. He wasn't coming. My own brother wasn't coming to my birthday party, which wasn't even my birthday party anymore. I stared at the text for a long moment, then looked around the kitchen again. Mom had moved on to fussing with the catered food, making sure everything looked perfect for Valentina's celebration. Through the doorway, I could see Dad giving what looked like a proud father speech to a circle of business school graduates. Valentina was holding court in the center of the living room, accepting congratulations and compliments with the kind of grace that comes naturally to people who are used to being celebrated. And I was standing alone in the kitchen, wearing jeans and a sweater to what was supposed to be my own birthday party, feeling like an intruder in my childhood home. That's when I made the first decision that would change everything. I walked over to Mom, who was arranging cannoli on a silver platter. Mom, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. She looked up, immediately sensing the shift in my tone. Of course, mija. What is it? Did you plan this party for Valentina before or after I asked for a small birthday dinner? Her hands stilled on the platter. For just the moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, maybe? Or recognition that she'd been caught in something she hadn't meant to reveal? Well, Valentina's graduation is such a big achievement, and when she mentioned that all her classmates would be in town this weekend, before or after, Mom? She sighed. Before. We planned this for Valentina last month, but then when you said you wanted to celebrate your birthday, we thought it would be nice to combine them. Last month. They'd been planning an elaborate graduation party for Valentina for a month, and when I asked for a small birthday dinner, they decided to just combine them. without telling me, without asking me, without even acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, I might want my own celebration. Did it occur to you to ask me if that was okay? Oh, honey, we didn't think you'd mind. You're sisters. You love each other. And you said you wanted something low-key anyway. Low-key. Yes, I'd said that. But what I meant was low-key for me, not low-key as a supporting player in someone else's celebration. And the decorations? The banner? The cake? Well, Valentina's graduation is the bigger achievement. Getting an MBA is such an accomplishment. We wanted to make sure she felt properly celebrated. The bigger achievement. There it was, the thing I'd been feeling but hadn't wanted to name. In my family's estimation, Valentina's graduation was worth celebrating in a way that my birthday, my existence, my survival of a difficult year, my small victories and quiet resilience was not. I nodded slowly, taking it all in. The planning, the deception, the casual dismissal of what I'd asked for. The assumption that I would just go along with it, that I would smile and play the supporting sister and be grateful for whatever scraps of attention were left over after Valentina had gotten her due. Okay, I said. Okay, Mom looked relieved. So you understand? I understand perfectly. And I did. I understood that this wasn't a mistake or a miscommunication or a well-meaning attempt to bring the family together. This was a pattern. This is how things worked in the Valdez family, and it had always worked this way, and I was just now seeing it clearly for the first time. I walked back through the living room, past the circle of people congratulating Valentina on her bright future, past the photo displays and the purple and gold decorations and the cake that celebrated someone else's achievement. I walked past all of it and out the front door where I stood once again looking at that banner with my sister's name on it. The evening air was cooler now, and the sky was starting to turn that deep blue color that comes just before full darkness. The party sounds from inside seemed muffled and distant, like they were happening in another world. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I was looking for. Marcus. My ex-husband. The person who knew me better than anyone in that house, even though we couldn't make our marriage work. He answered on the second ring. Kat, everything okay? Just hearing his voice, familiar, concerned, free of the complicated dynamics that defined every interaction with my family, made something loosen in my chest. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. Shoot. In all the years you knew me, and all the family gatherings you came to, did you ever notice anything off about how my family treated me? There was a long pause, long enough that I knew the answer before he said it. Kat, I noticed a lot of things, but you never wanted to talk about them. Tell me, now. Another pause. Are you sure? I'm sure. They treated you like you were invisible unless they needed something. And even when they needed something, they made it seem like they were doing you a favor by letting you help. Your sister could show up late to everything, change plans at the last minute, forget important dates, and it was always, oh, that's just Valentina. But if you were 5 minutes late or asked for any accommodation, you were being difficult. I closed my eyes. Go on.